Ms. Titilayo Oluwadewa, over to you. We want to hear you speak. Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for this opportunity to introduce the next speaker. And our next speaker is Ms. Karima. She is the director of Institute for Economic Development and Planning. So she will be talking about African women's role. So over to you, Mrs. Karima. Oh, sorry, Mrs. Karima.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to join this wonderful gathering. I feel very much humbled and inspired by all what has been said before. So since the previous participants have introduced themselves, let me say that I'm Tunisian, meaning that I am African. Indeed, I'm from the continent, the country that has given its name to the whole continent. So feeling full African and legitimate here. We are still in March, so that's why we are meeting and discussing women-related issues. But at the same time, my main recommendation is that the reflection should be a year-long matter in our respective agenda. And I'm seeing from what has been said that it is the case. I'm very also happy that it is a man who is bringing us together here today. Is it a promise, a symptom? I hope it is so, of a change in the mindsets that gender issues are not only the business of women alone, but is everybody's business. From past presentation, my takeout is that we have to teach our girls resilience, to never give up, to share their experiences so others can learn, to believe in themselves, and we have to tell them more frequently, you can make it. So I'm feeling a little bit blessed because I've grown up in the post-independence of Tunisia, where women's rights were on the top of the agenda, and I've had an intelligent father. But at the same time, I feel that, the small microcosm in which I grew up didn't prepare me for the so-called external world, and I'll have the opportunity to come back to that later. So basically what I wanted to share with you today are a few thoughts from my experience and my work as director of IDEP. Again, the centrality of women's roles in development is now recognized worldwide. And from the United Nations point of view, since I am working for the United Nations, we have seen a move from what were called the Mdgs, the Millennium Development Goal, versus the SDGs, where a whole goal now is dedicated to women, gender equity, which is SDG 5. But of course, you can see embedded in other goals the issues relating to gender issues. So where are we starting from today? Today, the theme of the 8th of March celebration of women's rights is women in leadership, achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. Let me start by saying that when we speak about women in this type of context, actually, the first finding is that data is missing. And a number of studies are built on empirical work, and we need to scale up all this and make sure that we do have the data to be able to document how women are in the whole environment. So the theme is women in leadership. So let me start by saying that today in the continent, we have very poor representation of women in decision-making positions. And the few talents we have go to Ireland. So this is not good for us, except that I'm seeing that they are giving back to the continent, so which is good and saluted. And I wanted to salute the accession to the presidency of Tanzania, to Mrs. Samia Suluhu. It is very encouraging. At the same time, if you look at one of the main areas of work of the continent, we see that women in Africa represent nearly 70% of the workforce in agriculture and contribute to up to 90% of the labor. But few of them have access to land, for example, and many of them lose land after losing a husband or a male tutor, which is very impeding to them being full-fledged actors there. Again, low participation of women in wealth creation. If you look at non-paid work, those who are managing and leading their households, they are doing a lot, but this is not fully and formally recognized. They have limited access to resources, basic services, finance opportunities. If you look at recent data from UNESCO, they indicate that only 20% of researchers are employed in research and development who are women. And this, of course, this figure varies across region within the continent, but we have regions where women are very, very poorly represented. Women in trade are a minority in the formal sector, a majority in the informal one. Again, fragility of their situation, vulnerability, and we do hope, and we are working towards that the recently launched African Free Trade Area will give them more visibility and recognize their role in a better way. At the same time, we can see that more and more we have an increasing number of women candidates for formal and unfortunately informal migration. Again, this speaks about their vulnerability. Again, vulnerability to climate change. Samira has very eloquently developed this earlier. And today, we can unfortunately only recognize that COVID has further exacerbated this poor situation. Loss of income, they are the first target, instability, violence against women and young girls, out of school because of poor access to infrastructure, etc., etc. So for me, these are a few of the challenges we have to address in an inclusive manner. And each one of you in your own capacity, as far as what we have heard so far, is doing it in a brilliant manner. And thank you, ladies, for what you are doing. So we have to recognize that we are progressing in terms of policies and framework, and the UN is here to assist countries and all stakeholders actually to make progress towards those goals. But policies and frameworks are not sufficient. Implementation is the key challenge, together with monitoring and accountability, and which leads us to the issue of good governance. Let me share with you an example from my home country, Tunisia. Very early after independence, a number of rights were given to women, and in particular, rights for divorce. Women had the opportunity, while we were in a Muslim society, to request themselves divorce and to have rights to raise their children, to keep the house, etc. This was the law. But when it came to implementation, I mean, very rapidly, we had to recognize that no progress were made despite the law and the progress in the law. So the president then, late President Bourguiba, decided to create a cohort of women judges so that it can bring more nuance in the way cases of divorce were treated. And it is through the empowerment of those women, and they're giving them the possibility actually to work with their male colleagues, that progress in the implementation of the law was made. So I think that it is very important that we have in the decision-making aspect for laws and frameworks and policies to be gender sensitive, but also when it comes to practice and action, to have women involved so that they can ensure a balance in the decision and the action taken. Let me now rapidly move to IDEP. For those who are not familiar with our institute, IDEP is the East African Institute for Economic Development and Planning. We are based in Dakar, Senegal, and we work for all the 54 African countries of the United Nations. Basically, what we do is what we support African member states in designing, implementing, and monitoring policies, development policies that will support, the achievement of the development priorities. And for us, it is very critical that we are able to mainstream gender dimension into all our programs. What we try to do is to give priority to gender equality as an integral part of all training and research activities we are conducting. So we try to ensure that all concerned curricula, because everything, of course, cannot be engendered, but all concerned training curricula include a gender dimension through content embedment, access to relevant data, and development of specific modules address gender-related matters. As an example, last year in 2020, we organized courses on gender-responsive economic policy management, and these were not directed to women only. And we organized a course on gender and trade, so that those who are involved in building the African free trade area can take into account a gender dimension. We have also organized for Rwanda, as per Rwanda request, a tailor-made training on gender sensitive policies. And I can say that Rwanda, and you all know that, for example, in terms of representation of women in parliament, Rwanda is one of the best performer, not only at the level of our continent, but worldwide. We have also, in order to increase the discussion and the dialogue about gender issue, we organized a webinar on women and governance in the public and private sectors, so that we can see how we can improve their participation. All this information can be found, of course, on our website. Now, this is from, I would say, a qualitative and substantive aspect, but we also need to reach out to all women. Actually, we have realized that primarily our main audience is the public sector, civil servant in our countries, because we work on shaping and designing a new policy for development. But at the same time, we have realized that when we issue a call for participation and application, the number of women trained is very limited. This was the case when we only organized on-site courses. Women had more difficulties than their male colleagues to leave their houses for 2 weeks period and come to Dakar to benefit from our courses. But with the digital learning and e-learning facilities, now we can see more and more participation. And I'm very happy to share with you that since 2018, we have moved from 187 women trained to 257, and last year we have trained 484 women. But this number remains very, very small compared to the number of men who have benefited from our training. In 2020, they were 2,000 people, meaning that it is a minority, and we need to work on that. So I count on you, ladies and gentlemen, as well, to make sure that we have more applicants and have more women participate in our courses, because what we do is not training for the sake of training, but it is training to have an impact on policy making. And we have opened now through the digital learning program, we have opened our courses to not only women in the public sector, but all the sectors, private sector, academia, private civil society organization, the media, because they have a say in all this and they can help us change the mindset and promote gender supportive programs. So we will continue to actively advocate for the nomination of women to these training courses. And again, I count on you for that. It also acts as a think tank, and we organize a number of high-level dialogues on development issues. And again, the gender dimension, we try to mainstream it and embed it in all the areas where it is relevant. And this year, we are happy to report that we had close to 900 participants in our research and think tank activities, out of which we had 553 women, which is really very, very encouraging to make sure that they participate in the thinking. And since this this meeting is organized by a youth institution, let me also share with you that 2021 we look at more specifically youth expectation and young girls' expectations. By training, I'm an information and ICT person, so I'm very much aware of the need for Africa to go digital and to make the best utilization of the new digital era and see how this can promote gender equity and gender participation in all the sectors of economic, social, and environmental development. And our headquarters at the ECA, together with the International Telecommunication Union, gave the opportunity last December to 3,000 young women from across the continent to learn modern ways of coding to build their information and communication technology capacity, so that they can be full-fledged actors actually when it comes to trying to find the best skills to promote gender-based policies in Africa. So, as I said earlier in the chat box, let me conclude with that. I think that we should not only dream of Africa, the Africa of our dream needs to become a reality. And if we are able to work together to make it a reality, I mean, let's do it and let's continue doing it for those who are doing so. I think it is a prerequisite if we want us to reach our development goals and ensure that equal opportunities are given to all our citizens. Thank you.
Over to you, Madam Moderator. Brilliant presentation from Karima. Over to you, Madam Moderator.
Wow, that's wonderful. She has given us an insight to so many opportunities. Like Councillor Adenuga said, opportunities are everywhere. And now we also had opportunity